Hello, everyone. It is Rando Mando here with a deck tech. Today I will be deck teching my Chief Chirpa, Double Ewok Warrior, Murrin, Curse Burn, Witch, Dark Ewoks, Murder Bears deck. So let's look at the character's battlefield and plot. Alright, so we have for the plot, we have Night Sister Lair. After you play a downgrade for the first time each round, you may gain a resource. You're never going to get this. You have 2 character dice showing a max value of 3. So it's basically just 2 shields. We're running high stakes, so we start the game. Each player starts the game with 3 resources. We're running Murrin, which has an after setup. You can add a Night Sister zombie to the deck, so that makes the deck a little thicker. And she's neutral, and she allows us to include blue villain curses in my deck. So then we have Cheap Chirpa, which spawns an Ewok for his after setup ability. So now we have a 6-wide deck. Going over the characters, the Ewok Warrior is pretty simple. You can only have a unique Ewok, Chief Chirpa. After you activate this character, you may deal 1 indirect damage to an opponent. That's it. Chief Chirpa has a special, which is deal 2 indirect damage to an opponent, or 3 indirect if you can spot 4 Ewoks, which we can. 1, 2, 3, 4. Math class, everyone. And then the Night Sister Zombie. After you activate this character, you may spot another witch to deal 1 damage to a character that has a curse on them. So obviously, this is a Curse Burn deck. The Ewoks are the burns. Myrn and her witch friend are the curse part of it. So now, let's look at the downgrades. So, obviously, since we're running Ewoks and witches, we're going to be running curses. So let's look at some of the curses and see if you agree with any of these or if you hate me for running Curse Burn. Alright, so here they are. We are running the Uncontrollable Rage, 1, 2 Recurring Nightmares, 2 Possess, 2 Ensnares, and 1 Rolling Logs. You can swap out a Rolling Logs for an Uncontrollable Rage if you want, but these 3 are staples, so you always include 2 of these. You can swap one of these for one of these. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so Uncontrollable Rage is our 1. So in the early game, we might drop this, as it allows our Night Sister Zombie to take effect. But yeah, otherwise, exhaust this downgrade to deal 1 damage to a attached character, or 2 damage instead if you spot a witch. Use this action only if attached character is ready and it is not the first turn of the round. So really, you want them to get into a position where they don't want to activate the character, which will probably putting this on the same character you're going to put your Possessed on. You're probably getting out 1 Possessed each game. It's too expensive and not really worth it late game unless you don't get it early game, which you're hard going for this 90% of the time. You have Reoccurring Nightmare, which is self-explanatory. The die can only be resolved against attached character. 1 melee, 1 melee, 2 melee, 3 melee for a buck. I'm happy with all those sides. Sometimes I won't want 3 melee for a buck, but most of the time, 3 damage for $1 is totally worth it. Possessed is the gem of this deck and really what makes it run. Because we have discard this downgrade from play if you do not control witch. Exhaust this downgrade to resolve one of attached character's character dice as if it was in your pool. So they roll out a Mando 3, pop that back into him. Qui-Gon 4, pop that back into him. Like anything really, you just take it and shoot it back at them. I'm okay with taking anything. Money, shields, disrupt, damage. Anything I'll take from Possessed to get any value out of it. Ensnare, after attached character is activated, you may discard this downgrade to deal damage to a character equal to the number of its character and upgrade dice doing damage. This paired with Rolling Logs is huge clutch late game. You lay in Ensnare, they roll out 6 dice, all damage, you deal 6 damage to them, it's over. It's unblockable damage. They can't do anything about it. They roll and take damage. It's one-time use. Incredible. And then Rolling Logs, after attached character is activated, you may discard this downgrade to reroll any number of its character and upgrade dice. I'll be using this in 2 different ways depending on how the match is going. I can use it to fuel Ensnare, Possessed. Like, I can use it to fuel my downgrades, or I can use it to fuel my survivability by re-rolling the damage if I don't have any of these out there. So either way, it's a one-time use. You only get it once. Use it wisely, and it can be detrimental either way. You can use it to really help you, and you can use it to really punch the opponent and make them pay. All right, now we're going to be looking at the sports. We don't really have a lot of them, but they are amazing. Alright, let's take a look. So we're running 2 improvised explosives and 2 laser tripwires. I'm using my amazing proxy cards. Hey, proxy card! After the player activates a character, if 2 or more of that character's character or 3 dice are showing damage, discard the support for play to deal 3 indirect damage to that player. This is amazing. I can't trigger it myself. They can trigger it all they want. It's 1 cost for 3 damage in the end. Totally worth it. Late game, this will come in clutch. Early game, it'll push a little bit more damage. Improvised explosive. The support enters play with 2 resources on it. After the action phase begins, remove a resource from the support. Then, if no resources on it, discard it to deal 3 indirect damage to an opponent. This you probably want early, mid game. It's pretty much dead late game. Because once they start murdering your murder bears, you're really low and you won't be able to survive as long. So 1, 2, 3, if you can last round 4, 5, yeah, it's kind of meh. So try and get these out relatively quickly. Otherwise, it definitely loses a lot of its value. All right, let's look at the event suit. Obviously, this deck has a lot of events, a ton of events. So let's take a look at all of the one-ofs. So these are all my one-ofs. I'm running 1 Lost Cat and Mouse. Force an opponent to remove 1 of your dice, and then remove 1 of their dice. We're usually only having 1 really crappy die in the pool, so that's alright. Paltry Leeches deal damage to a blue character, a red character, and a yellow character. This isn't a maze, so sometimes you're going to be taking 1 damage, 2 damage, just to push out damage. Controlled Chaos wins games. That's all I'm going to say. These 3 cards right here win games. Controlled Chaos, choose a symbol, then reroll up to 5 dice. You may spend 1 resource to reroll any number of those dice again. For each of those dice showing the chosen symbol, deal 1 indirect damage to an opponent. So, let's see you roll out a Qui-Gon Jinn. He's full of lightsabers. Rolls all 5 dice out. They roll nothing. Or maybe they roll damage. I just reroll them into damage. 5 damage back at him. It's incredible. 5 damage that they can't do anything, or 6 if they're running Mando, or 4 even I'm okay with for 1 resource. If I can push damage, this is the card to do it. Dangerous Escape, 1 of discard all downgrades on a character, then deal damage to that character equal to the number of downgrades discarded this way. If they're about to kill Merrin or the Knights of the Zombie and it's the last witch I have and Possess is going to pop anyway, I use this card. If it's the last game, they have 3 downgrades on them, I pop it down and win the game. It's 3 damage, essentially, at best. It's 2 at worst. It's 1 at useless. Rally the Covert is our big mama card. It wins or it doesn't do anything and you just wasted 3 resources. So it's exhaust 1 of your characters, then roll 4 set-aside Mandalorian Super Commando dice into your pool. You may resolve any number of those dice, remove the rest. For each die you removed, you may remove another die showing the same value. We're more using the damage. We these dice roll 2, 2, 2, 2, and just push for 8 damage. Close the game. We'll take removal as well, but most of the time, I want those guns. I want to murder. And then we have 1 truce just to make some money, because obviously with 2 character dice, you're going to need money, and truce is a fast way to get it and utilize it to speed up the pace, because you really want to use Ewoks. So that is the one-offs. Now let's look at the two-offs. We have 2 Ewok Ambush. Pretty self-explanatory. It is ambush. Activate 1 of your non-elite characters or up 3 of your Ewok characters. So activate 3 of my Ewok characters so they don't die, and I get value. 2 easy pickings. The reprint list game. So good removal. This one is amazing. Bought a yellow character to remove 2 dice showing the same symbol and value. We have 4 yellow characters. This is online the whole game pretty much. And it is incredible. Another great 1 for 2 cost removal is Into the Garbage Chute. Now, of course, running 2 of those. Exhaust 1 of your characters to remove up to 2 dice showing damage. I'm going to exhaust my Ewok or my Knights of the Zombie to remove your 2 3s, your 2 4s. Yes, sir, I will. Hidden Motive is another great reprint list removal, which allows us to choose a symbol, then reroll an opponent's die. If it rolls the shown symbol, remove it. You can't go wrong at 0 cost. It negates the die or it removes the die. It's amazing. And then we're running 2 Overconfidence. Spot a blue character to reroll 2 dice, then remove one of the dice with the lowest value. Yeah, it's another reprint thing. It'll probably go away, as will most of these cards, because they're really, really, really good. Um, this is soft mitigation and hard mitigation. It's really nice when they roll a lot of damage, because you just re-roll it. I can't say much else. So super handy and helpful. All right, let's look at the final piece of the puzzle. The deck itself, the whole shebang, strategies, techniques, what to do in a situation. Um, so just going off of some final touches here. Um, let's look. All right. So two cards I haven't shown you yet are the Whistling Birds and the Saw's Rocket Launcher. The reason I have them with these characters well on the board is because Saw's Rocket Launcher is a unique 2 cost. And I've added this card, probably haven't seen it before in this deck, but I've added it solely to fight against the mill because they're obviously not going to be dealing me damage, and this is huge. So it's +2 indirect for resource, +3 indirect, +4 indirect, +5 indirect, blank, blank. This die cannot be modify other dice, so it's a little weird, but until you read the power action. Power action. Resolve this die against yourself as if it were not showing a modifier, then deal indirect damage to an opponent equal to the number of damage characters you can spot. In Mill, we can spot 6 damage characters every single turn, so 6 indirect, 7 indirect, 7 indirect, 7 indirect. Unless they remove this die, it is guaranteed 7 indirect, 7 indirect, 7 indirect. Nuts against Mill. And against some other decks, I need to push damage out, especially in shield decks that just shield, shield, shield. I'm hiding behind my shield wall. I can't push any damage. You need to push damage. This will push damage. You have 6 characters. So you can spot all 6 of them as damaged. +1, 7 indirect. Just punch them, punch them, punch them. They might have to use the removal against this die because it gets nasty. It does really hurt you, and your guys are really squishy. So the first resolve is probably going on all of them, and then going on Chief Chirper Marin. Because this is kind of an alternate to the curses, is just abusing Saw's Rocket Launcher as much as possible. In which case you're okay with stacking Marin and Chirpa and just having them die. Another one, 3 wides are really tough to burn through because they're dealing just itsy little bits and they have so much health. So Whistling Birds, this upgrade enters play with 1 resource on it. Before you resolve this die showing damage, you may remove 1 resource from it. This upgrade to resolve it against any number of characters. I put this solely for support decks. I've had a lot of trouble with support decks, so I just gotta even 6 damage. I'm willing to pay a resource to deal 6 damage. Just really help push damage. This deck is amazing. It does a really good job of controlling and damaging. It can deal damage. It just takes a while to get there. So shield decks, heal decks, it's gonna set it back. So I've added these cards to be more aggressive. But otherwise, yeah. The deck has 8. It only has 9 cards of removal, which is kind of rough. But you have a ton of squishy little health to work with. So yeah, I'd say with this deck, you activate your characters. Usually, you lay your important card like before they activate the character. Maybe you lay a laser tripwire before they, or rolling logs, or ensnare, or possessed. Usually, your first action is laying one of these downgrades. That's usually your first action every round, is laying a downgrade, because you have to get those out before they activate. Second action, third action, 10th action, activating. You're gonna activate everybody. You might spare not activating these 2 to push out damage. Something I've been trying to train my mind to is Marin's power action, which allows you to exhaust an opponent's character with a curse attached to it, then roll that character's character and upgrade dice into the pool. I've made a few mistakes not utilizing this. It'll rarely come up, but it can clutch a game. And otherwise, yeah, just pray you don't run into splash or AoE damage, and you're safe. It's really, really rough going into AoE damage because there's you like what do you do? You're so squishy that even a 2 across the board hurts. Like Deathfield, it's game over really. So all around, I highly suggest you whip it out, make someone mad a little. Don't try to though. But otherwise, yeah, it's a blast to play. And of course, it makes my specialty as the Diceless King, that it just fits. Anyway, thanks for watching. Go ahead and join the On the Sensors Discord.